So guys, in case you don't know, this current administration is going to be borrowing to fund this spending that the National Assembly has just approved. Nigerians, we are in a serious problem. Just listen to this analyst and the important information he has got to give to Nigerians.
But the question I think we should be asking is, how are you going to fund this supplementary budget? Where's the funding going to come from? That's the question nobody's asking.
Maybe from savings from fuel subsidy removal?
We haven't seen those savings, unfortunately, and it's not really coming through the system in the way and manner we'd like it to see. So there needs to be some transparency in how this would be. What I know is the fact that they're looking at a between $1.2, $1.5 billion budget support from the World Bank, which the World Bank confirmed they're processing that loan at the moment. At best, that will bring in maybe 1 trillion or 1.2 trillion. So there's still a deficit to finance. But the irony of this is that this year's budget is already with an 11 trillion naira deficit. So you add the 2 trillion to it. So you're going to be looking at about 13.7, 14 trillion deficit by the end of this year. 97% of our revenues are going towards debt service. This administration has already drawn down 4 trillion already from Ways and Means. We're waiting for the central bank to reconcile their accounts, and also to a monetary policy committee meeting is long overdue. So there are many issues, but now the fiscal space is taking these challenges because I think there's still some opaqueness in the reporting because we see the expenditure side, but we haven't seen how they're going to finance it, and we don't know what the current state of the revenue, because the revenue projections for this year was 10 trillion. So out of that 10 trillion, we're already in November. How much of that 10 trillion that was projected for revenue has actually come in? And these are the questions that we need to ask, not just to the expenditure side. Where are the revenues? How much savings have we made from the subsidy?
So let's talk about revenue, because we've talked about it a number of times that one of the challenges or big challenges that would face this particular administration would be revenue. So beyond our spending habits is that we don't even have the money, as you've outlined, to service some of these expenses. What's the prospect for us? Because as you mentioned, we have the details of the expenditure, but there are estimations and projections in terms of how these revenues will come in. Beyond the World Bank loan, what other options are available? Where are we going to get the money to provide for these expenses? Then I'd like to ask you as well, is it justified? I'm sure you've read the details of the supplementary budgets, the amount of money going to defense, money going to the FCT, 100 billion, money going to the State House, money going to agriculture and the likes. Is it justified at this time?
Well, justification, I don't know, in the sense that there was already a budget this year for these departments. So why do all these people need a supplementary budget at this time of the year? Which is like, what, 2 months to the end of the year?
Yeah.
If we had to be realistic, or is it that they're just grappling with it because the new administration came in May? So you come in and then you are going to the assembly to approve a budget for you for this amount of money, and there's only 2 months left in the year. What is so urgent? And why isn't the emphasis on preparing the budget for next year and make the adjustments? Or is it that you have drawn down on Ways and Means and then you are now coming to seek approval for this budgetary expenditure to cover your spending? So for me, the timing is a bit difficult for me to comprehend. So justification is a different thing, and I think that's why you've seen the public outcry in terms of the optics. Optics is very important, because we have 130 million Nigerians in multidimensional poverty. So a lot of these things become very insensitive, and you really need to manage the optics, otherwise you see the outcry that we've been seeing. So while you can talk about justification, the question is that 2 months to the end of the year.
Why?
And then how have you financed this? Has this been money that has been spent? So that's where we have the challenges. My own focus is seeing what next year's budget is going to look like.
Okay. So many things are popping in my head. But number one, all the monies he had to spend before this supplementary probably were not in this budget that we're running the cycle now. Sort of like those monies generated from the Ways and Means. Number one, how are we going to reconcile them? That's number one. Number two, if you check the MTEF 2024 up to 2026, the revenue projections vis-a-vis the borrowing, vis-a-vis the economic growth, it is said that the best possible we'll do will be about, I think, 4.8%, is less than 5% growth. And it's going to systematically grow from about 3-point-something%, then it ends at about 4% for this medium-term expenditure framework. For the fact that we're not having that level of growth, and what they base their parameters on for raising those revenues are not cogent enough, then what do we do? Because, I mean, I read through it. So what they expect to change in customs, for instance, will be, okay, reducing smuggling, improvement on training, improvement of enforcement and I mean, we're not seeing really empirical line of sight in most of those things.
Okay. I think, it's important also not to mix apples with oranges, because the medium-term expenditure framework is a projection for next year's budgets. And what they're saying for next year is they're projecting 26 trillion budget and 17 trillion in revenues, leaving a deficit of about 9 trillion. I think that's the take from that. That's also what they're trying to do. The medium-term economic framework and fiscal strategy is you can't prepare a budget without doing this. So that's a statutory requirement. So that's just the starting point for the budget for next year. So yes, there will be a lot of assumptions and, putting together a framework. So when they fine-tune this, when the budget comes out, you see more fine-tuning, and then you can begin to make some sort of objective stance. That's why I said earlier that the most important thing now is to see what your budget for next year would be. These are the sort of things that, we need to put into perspective. But again, what we all have to understand is what the problem is and how do we resolve it. The fact is that we have maxed out our debt limits, at this point in time. And the biggest challenge for us is that there's an opaque structure within the revenues, especially what we have sold forward, which we don't know. We still don't know, even the 17 trillion revenues from next year, how much of that revenue has already been taken in terms of forwards and swaps. So that is really where the reconciliation needs to be done. Until we do that, until we know that position, then it will be very difficult for us to go forward. Because you can't continue with Ways and Means financing. It's illegal. You need to restructure that. Even if, as you've said in the introduction, that they've ordered the debt management office to go to the capital markets to borrow money. Are you going to crowd out the private sector? How much are the deposits that are in the banking system?
Okay. Well, if I heard you correctly, you said earlier that you can't see the savings from the fuel subsidy removal when you were talking about revenue.
Yes.
But is it not the case that the states that used to share from FAC allocation 600 billion, now they share more money?
Yes.
Yeah, so why do you say you can't see that? So, I mean, that's like a follow-up to what you said earlier. You may want to clarify what you said. But I would like to ask you, what do you think of the proposal recently to amend the CBN Act to expand the board, reduce the powers of the CBN governor, and also put a clause in the CBN Act to say that nobody should go into partisan politics, even if, as I have argued, that provision in the CBN Act, it's already very clear that a CBN governor must devote his time wholly to the job.
Well, on the first question, yes, the FAC allocations have come. I mean, they've increased significantly, without a doubt. But we're trying to find out that, where is that coming from? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So when you're talking about revenues, is it from taxes? Is it from, can you quantify? That's what I'm trying to explain to you. When you say, okay, FAC has increased by X amount of money, is it from the FIRS or is it from the subsidy savings? Did NNPC actually remit something to you? Because you were supposed to be, NNPC is supposed to be remitting money to the Federation account. That's really what we want to see. I don't know how much NNPC has been remitting to the Federation account. So out of the FAC you're talking about, how much came from what NNPC is paying to the Federation account? That's the problem of Nigeria. What has been how we have been surviving in Nigeria now is through FIRS and Ways and Means. NNPC has not been remitting to the Federation account. So let us know what NNPC is starting to remit to the Federation account between May and now. Then you can begin to get an understanding of that so-called savings on the subsidy. So I haven't seen that number. All I just see is the fact that the FAC allocations have gone up. So that's what I'm trying to say. As far as the Central Bank Act is concerned, for me it's a knee-jerk reaction. There's nothing wrong with the Central Bank Act as it is. If the central bank governor contravenes the CBN Act, then that's a different issue, because the CBN had a board, there's governance, and board members were sitting in meetings when the central bank was breaching CBN Acts. So people deliberately breached the act. So the issue is to look at Section 38, which talks about the ways and means, and to find a way to resolve the ways and means financing, which is currently now at 30 trillion. Okay? The whole of the pension, so going back to the point of the capital markets, the whole of the pension funds in Nigeria is 16 trillion. Banks have deposits of close to 50 trillion. Ways and means alone is 30 trillion. So you can see that the money that Ways and Means has been financed is twice the pension fund's money. So do you want to now go and take all the pension fund money or all the money in the banking deposits? Where will the corporates and the SMEs and the rest of the economy, where will they borrow? So government cannot go out and crowd out the private sector, because you're going to stunt the growth of the economy.
All right, so the president is looking at, or has said, that he's looking at a $1 trillion economy by 2026. We have debated how realistic this would be, asked questions around this, but I'd like to get your thoughts on this. Is it achievable?
Well, it was on this program that we first talked about Nigeria as a 1 trillion economy, and all of a sudden, everybody has picked up on it. So let's clarify something very quickly, and which is something that we need to understand, and I'll say this again. Nigeria is already a $1 trillion economy. Okay, I went out yesterday. I went to an art exhibition that's called Artex, run by this very brilliant entrepreneurial young lady, Tokini Peterside, and many paintings there. I saw some of Bruce Onabakweya's work there. What was on display only for Bruce Onabakweya was easily worth 600 million naira. So the art exhibition and all the exhibits there are in excess of billions of naira. That's an economy there. After that, I went out. I went to a restaurant called Rococo. Then there,
where is that?
In Victoria Island, just on Lagoon Bay. And I started talking to the manager. They employ 200 people. 200 people. One restaurant. And if you look at the multiplier effect, their supplies, so one restaurant is contributing to maybe 500 people. So the potential of this economy is already at 1 trillion. The problem we have in Nigeria are the people managing our economy. In 2014, our GDP was already close to $600 billion. We've lost $300 billion since then, or 250. If we had gained 250 billion in the last years, our economy would be at 850 billion right now, 150 billion shy of 1 trillion. So it is the managers of our economy that is retarding the Nigerian economy. That's what I keep saying. So when they keep talking about 1 trillion, it's not 1 trillion. It's how you're going to go from 1 trillion to 2 trillion or 3 trillion. But because of the managers, now that the GDP is now down to under 400 because of 400 billion because of devaluation, how do you go from 400 billion to 1 trillion in 2 years? It's mission impossible.
Very good, and it's good that you effectively clarified it and put pay to that, because we had a lot of people coming to argue that it is possible. And I even gave them the facts by saying even if we grow 20% every year for those 2 years, it's still going to be difficult.
It is going to be difficult, but what I'm trying to say, let's make the distinction.
No, I know, I get your point.
When you have an economy that is a potential 1 trillion, Nigeria should be a top 20 global economy.
No, we know it's visible. You know,
so that's what I'm saying.
know.
So it's just that we are not able to realize that potential. We're working, it's like a factory that is operating at 40% capacity.
We know, and it's good you've clarified it, because we're just clarifying based on facts, you know, and not, we know what happens in this country. But I want to talk to you about this nebulous nature of our financing.
Which financing? Government financing,
government
public financing, or private financing? Government
financing. So take, for instance, Afrexim Bank. That money we're going to take there, we hear the securitization going on. This new 10 billion we're going to take to, we hear is securitized against future funds of the NLNG. Vis-a-vis, we're also hearing that now, for a refinery like the Dangote refinery, they've said the NNPC will be able to supply them products, but NNPC still claiming it's got swap deals going on. So, understanding this, I think you should help us, you know, break it down. We've securitized most of...
Let's not get confused about all these swaps and securitization, and there's nothing issue. It's a question of reconciliation, which is what I've told you. You know, we need, once you reconcile, you know what we talked about next year's revenue projections are 17 trillion. How much of that is compromised by swaps? Have you discounted swaps from it? So it's very simple. We shouldn't. But we don't have this information, so it's not that simple. You are journalists. Then go and engage the appropriate government officials or check their websites. You know, which is what we are trying to do. But what I'm trying to say is that, look, there's 450,000 barrels of oil. We have 4 refineries in this country that is not working. Those refineries had allocation of 450,000 barrels of oil a day. What's happening to it?
They said they're giving 3,000 swaps over the years.
And
the money is not being remitted by NNPC mostly.
So that's what you should go and see. NNPC should render the accounts, which is what I've told you. How much is NNPC bringing in? I've given you the questions. I've given you the leads. Talk to the people. Go and write NNPC or invite them to come and talk and give you the information. So information is available. So let them go and define that so that we can get clarity. What they're trying to do with the 10 billion they're raising is simply you have dividends from LNG, so and you need money, so you take the money up front. That's all. So you won't get dividends from them for the next 5 years.
You wrote a paper recently, how we can fix all of this. You talked about how we should grow revenue and all of that. But what are the practical steps? I want you to talk through the paper you wrote. What are the practical steps of growing? Because it's just as if we're all talking in circles. No, we all know the problem, but coming out of it, it astounds all of us.
No, you see, you do these things to prepare for discussions that we're having today. So I'm not going to discuss this on air. So,
okay, Tilly. Okay, see, we just had the Nigerian Economic Summit.
Yes.
Okay. Annual ritual, you know, certain fallouts there. But there, the president made certain commitments about the government going to clear forex backlog, right? They call it about $7 billion or something.
Yes.
Right? Now, this morning, Rochus Odiri was on this program and he was talking about the Naira appreciating and all of that. Do you have confidence in this new CBN team? Do you think that some of the steps that Cardoso and his team have, taken will solve the problem? Or this is just a flash in the pan?
Okay, let me just say that I was fortunate enough to engage them during the during the economic summit, one-on-one in some of the fallout groups. So, you know, when you do that, then what you need to do is to, some of the things that we've talked about there because of the Chatham House rules, I can't really say too much because. But
no, the Economic Summit Group is not a secret society.
No, it's not a secret society.
The summit was conducted in the open.
In the open, fine.
To share the outcomes with us.
That's what I'm trying to say. What I can share in terms of engaging is what the central bank governor said in the summit. So my own way now is the fact that it's too early for me to judge. What they've started doing now is they started intervening in the market to clear the backlogs, which is good. And from what he said, he's outlined a FX policy that he's going to come up with. And we're waiting for the FX policy. And he's talked about beginning to gradually clear the backlog from that point of view. And so my own perspective, if you ask the confidence we're having, is that we need to wait for them and understand exactly what they want to do. So for me, what is important, first of all, is that he's talked about the new FX policy. Then they've started intervening in the market, clearing the backlog, which is sending strong signals to the markets. Because I think yesterday, a lot of banks received money, some 100 million, some 50, to be able to start. So that's a positive signal. That's a step in a positive direction. And if they can continue that gradually over a period of time, then you restore confidence into the market. So that's a step in the right direction. On the other side, what is also important is the MPC, which is what we've told you, that we're waiting for them to do their inaugural monetary policy committee from this new team so that they will be able to understand exactly how they want to set the policy directions. So I think for the central bank, we still have some waiting to do in terms of how they're going to do. But so far, so good, because as we can see, the Naira is beginning to appreciate. And with this intervention, prices are coming down and the speculation is reducing. And we're seeing Naira going and, you know, going down to 1,000 from 1,300 within like 5 days, you know, which is quite significant. So, so those are positive steps. And, you know, because, you know, we need to be also be very careful because, you know, the person who is doing the tax reform committee is also speaking on foreign exchange, which is sending wrong signals. You see, so that also is something, I don't also want to start to go into that fray. Because the person that is doing the tax reform should stop talking about foreign exchange policy. Yes, he should stop talking about foreign exchange policy. That's not his line. Because you will send mixed signals to the market. So that's why there's, you know, when you are signaling and you're communicating, you know, so, and there's a bit of fuzziness, it's important to clarify it, and then, you know, one doesn't add to it to create more confusion. But what the central bank is doing is what they're supposed to do. Central banks don't announce. You know, let them intervene. They telegraph their messages, and this is what they're doing. But they didn't need to announce, oh, we're going to intervene in the market tomorrow. No.
So guys, you have seen it for yourself. Honestly, this government don't even know what they are doing. They don't know. No doubt they try to smuggle themselves into this position because they have another thing, you know, in plan. Not just the interests of Nigerians. You have seen it for yourself. This is how are we going to even manage this for the next 3+ years? That is the question everybody should be asking. Tinubu once told us that they don't need Nigeria's money to survive, that God has already blessed them, that they just want to come and help Nigeria as a country. Without any proactive steps in arresting the situation Nigeria is in today, this government is busy allocating money for presidential fleets. You can imagine, even the office of the wife of the president, which is not even in the constitution, has gotten its own share. Nigerians, do you approve of this? Do you approve this kind of rascality in spending?
I do not approve of this. The same family that told us that they do not need Nigeria's money to sustain, now is the same family that is taking Nigeria's money to do for themselves what is not known to law. There is no office of the First Lady that was voted for. Why should Nigerians be spending money to an office that is not allowed to be recognized by law? This is a problem. We never voted for Tinubu as First Lady. Why is she spending our money? Why is the husband spending Nigeria's money for her upkeep? This is just unknown to law, and for me, it's where the problem is. And there are quite a lot of things that particular.
So, guys, you can see where the Supreme Court has brought Nigeria to. Yes, because they are the one that upheld the current government, the current president, as the president of Nigeria. And looking at the way things are going, this government has not been proactive. There is nothing they've done since they came into power. Look at the naira falling, inflation rising, unemployment rising, banditry and terrorism in Nigeria. All those things are not coming to a stop anytime soon, because we have a government that does not even have clue on how to address some of these issues. Let me just allow you watch this video. Just take your time, relax, and hear what Mr. Kachuku got to say about all this.
The Nigerian Senate has passed the 2.17 trillion naira 2023 supplementary appropriation bill recently presented to it by President Bola Tinubu. The components of the budget include 605 billion naira for national security and defense, 300 billion naira for maintenance of bridges, especially the Eco Bridge, 210 billion naira for wage award for civil servants, and 400 billion naira for cash transfer to vulnerable households, 200 billion naira for seed and agricultural inputs and equipment, and 18 billion naira for Independent National Electoral Commission to conduct off-season elections, just to mention a few.
However, the controversial 5.5 billion naira allocated for presidential yacht was reallocated to student loan in the supplementary budget by the House of Representatives. And this means that education, which in this case a student's loan, would see an upward review of up to the tune of 10.5 billion naira. The chairperson of the House Committee on Appropriation, Abubakar Bichi, while speaking to journalists, said the committee removed the item and moved the money to the student loan section to make it 10 million naira. 10 billion naira, beg your pardon.
As far as we are concerned, we don't have that percentage anymore. We have increased the student loan. If you can recall, student loan was 5 billion naira in the budget. But now we have increased it from 5 to 10 billion so that our students can be able to access that facility in order for them to go to school and to be affordable for them. This is what it is actually.
So no more what?
Yeah, we don't have that yet anymore.
To look at the components of the supplementary budget and what it means for the average Nigerian, we're joined by public affairs analyst Catch Ononuju. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, you did see the clip we just played now of explanation being given as to what is being done with the money that was budgeted for the presidential yacht, money that has allegedly been relocated to the student loan. First of all, do you consider it embarrassing that, this had to be a conversation in the first place? Part of the defense that was given was that this yacht was not requested for in this administration. One, that two, it doesn't belong to the president, it's for the Navy, and it was requested from during President Muhammad Buhari's administration. So first, do you think that this excuse suffices, and is this something to be embarrassed about?
Oh, well, I believe it's not an issue of talking about embarrassments. No, it's very teaching. I say that because people will now understand that the same recklessness we had under the Buhari administration seems to be bringing its head up under the Tinubu administration. So now they've said this is not the first time somebody tried to insert that issue of a yacht. There's nothing like presidential yacht. No. Everything that the president needs can be done transporting him with a helicopter. And the military, the security services does have helicopter for that use. What would you use a yacht for? I think somebody wants to dispose of an ill-gotten yacht that has probably just stayed on their hands, and they want, how reckless our people can be. Disposing it, somebody will buy it and then pay the money, and it will rot in a place because it will never be used by the presidency. Be that as it may, we've moved on, and I will advise that we become very vigilant, that the same hawks, the same kind of crooked people who were there in fixing numbers under Buhari are still available. That's what we must learn. Not see it as an embarrassing thing. No, we must see it as a teaching moment that the same crooks who were there stealing money for nothing under the Buhari administration, the APC administration, are still there under this APC administration, that is though Tinubu's administration. So we must all stay awake to understand that the snake is still there on the roof.
All right. I just want to quickly clarify something. I just want to quickly clarify something as to exactly what this proposed, or that this yacht, was for. First of all, according to the presidency, it was said that what is being named as the presidential yacht in the budget is an operational naval boat with specialized security gadgets suitable for high-profile operational inspection and not for the use of the president. It is called presidential yacht by way of nomenclature because of the high-level security features. The naval boat was ordered by the Navy under the previous administration. President Tinubu has consistently said that government is a continuum, as he inherited both assets and liabilities of past administration. So do you think that this is a fair enough argument for, the yacht, presidential yacht?
No. These are just rhetorics used to blanket. There is nothing like a presidential yacht in security balances across the world. Any seacraft that is secure enough, that is big enough to be the command vessel of the Navy, is a presidential craft. So this is just some fraudulent stories they are trying to tell you. Somebody may have seen, a bulletproof private yacht and thinking they can pass it off to Nigeria because it's a bulletproof private yacht into the hands of, no, you don't need that. What would you use it for? That's just, so that means the Navy is admitting that it was involved in deception. You're trying to deceptively give it a very fine, fancy name so that you pass. This is nonsense. If the presidency don't know about it, don't call it presidential product. If nobody ever talked about it, don't bring it up. Nobody needs such things. We don't need a presidential yacht. We don't need a yacht meant for only the president, meant for only one person. No, we don't need that.
I mean,
what we need a multi-purpose craft that can carry personnel and go and secure a job done. No, that's what we need.
Yeah, just to clarify once again, they are arguing that it is not meant for the president. It's only just named presidential yacht. But I just want to also add the fact that a yacht is a luxury craft. It's not, or rather, a luxury boat. It's not, a security boat. The United States does not have, a yacht in its navy. The last one, I think, was the USS Sequoia or something like that. But that one was decommissioned in 1977, and since then they have not found the need to use one or to have one. So Nigeria cannot be arguing that it needs a yacht in its navy. These are just for me, just useless arguments. It's pretty clear that this was very, very unnecessary. What made them bold enough to even put it there in the first place is what we should be thinking about. But Mr. Ononojo, I want to also ask, it's not just a yacht. That one for me is one item. There's still the office of the First Lady getting 1.5 billion naira for cars. There's still the National Assembly getting billions of naira for SUVs. There's 400 billion naira that's meant to be used for cash transfers. There's, I think, court premises meant to be built about 10 or 40 billion naira for building courts. The vice president's residence is going to be getting about 3 or 4 billion naira. The president's house is going to be getting rehabilitation in billions of naira also. These are also items that were put in that budget that have been passed so far by a National Assembly that didn't go through that budget for up to a week. They didn't deliberate, they didn't debate anything for up to a week. So I want your thoughts on what we currently have that we call the National Assembly.
Well, it's not what we currently have. The state capture was total. So they have captured states and they think they can simply rule, and they do not care. about the current hardship being felt by the rank and file of Nigerian citizenry. And that's what you see. This is not proper. This could even be worse than the Buhari era from what we are seeing. That's why I said earlier that it is very teaching. It's not an issue of how to be embarrassed. We have been embarrassed enough by the APC as a political party. What they will not do, we do not know. We're beginning now to see that recklessness we saw and we thought it was only particular to the Buhari gang. No, it's also here. A lot of these things are just not in the law. What is the office of the First Lady? The First Lady never ran for election. Why are we spending billions for buying cars for the First Lady? The same First Lady who told us that her family does not need Nigeria's money to survive. Now she is taking Nigeria's money for purchasing her bulletproof vehicles for an office that is not known to law. That tells you the kind of administration that the Tinubu government shall be. So this is what it is. Don't forget how these people came to power. So why would you expect them to respect us? No. If they captured state, captured judiciary, they are also likely to have captured the legislature and nobody will talk. So it is left for the Nigerian people to open up their mouths and talk. Don't forget, this government is not as legitimate as we will want to think. No, this is the same government that, though we saw evidence to have it step down, the Supreme Court said, please, for the sake of national unity, do this, do that, that we came late, that evidences came late. This is not proper. I do not approve of this. The same family that told us that they do not need Nigeria's money to sustain, now is the same family that is taking Nigeria's money to do for themselves what is not known to law. There is no office of the First Lady that was voted for. Why should Nigerians be spending money to an office that is not allowed to be recognized by law? This is a problem. We never voted for Remi Tinubu as First Lady. Why is she spending our money? Why is her husband spending Nigeria's money for her upkeep? This is just unknown to law, and for me, it's where the problem is. And there are quite a lot of things. That particular budget you saw passed yesterday is nothing but a luxury budget. That's why you saw PECs, money to be chopped, cash transfers that we do not know who is going to, all sorts of things. None of these things are pertinent to nation building and to governance. He can do actually without a lot of these things that he got money requested for yesterday, and that just tells you the Tinubu administration does not promise to be an administration that Nigerians could look forward to. So we have a continuation of the issues that we saw with the last administration, where money was packed recklessly, where our oils were sold in forward contracts and money taken, and we didn't see any of the money put into anything. They were singing infrastructure. Today, our roads and infrastructure are very bad all over the place. When you see the current Minister for Works go around, you start to ask yourself, so what then did Fashola do for 8 years as Minister for Works?
And these are very vital questions to ask, Mr. Ononuju. Very vital questions, and important to ask. A number of the reactions we've seen have been negative. Many people very disgruntled by the monies that they're seeing in the budget, and how it would seem that Nigerians were not prioritized. Would you say that there is any silver lining in the budget? The government has earmarked 210 billion naira to fulfill its pledge to pay 35,000 naira to about 1.5 million federal government employees for the months of October, November, and December. Would you say maybe this is something to be excited about? Are there any things or any provisions in the budget that maybe excite you and look like some measure of good news?
Well, you should understand that budgets are a government's expression of intent. And this expression of intentions tells us that these are purely intentions that are targeted towards personal aggrandizements. That's what you saw. Luxury vehicles, luxury this for that, luxury that for this. Nothing for the poor people. nothing for the current hardship that Nigerians are experiencing everywhere, which they call our new shege. This new shege, I can tell you, is touching everybody. And the government, instead of thinking about ways to ameliorate the economic hardship we have currently in the country, are thinking of how to buy luxury vehicles, bulletproof vehicles for their wives, and for things that we never ever thought were essential commodities under this kind of emergency life that Nigerians are having currently. I abhor and I condemn the actions of the Tinubu administration.
All right.
So, guys, you can see that this government, instead of taking Nigeria from consumption to production, they don't even have clue on how to start making Nigeria to becoming a producing state, a producing country. They are just there wasting the little resources we have. You can imagine the president allocating 5 billion to a yacht that nobody even knows who is going to use it, and using 5 billion for student loans, meaning that these people don't even value education. I mean, education is equal to yacht, presidential yacht. So, guys, you can see that honestly, Nigeria is in a mess. When we have people who have no clue on how to take Nigeria to another level. Shebi is Supreme Court that brought us to where we are today. Nigerians are yet to see more terrible things because these people, they have to recover all they spent during the election. And any project.
I'm not a saint, but I'm not a criminal. I have never knowingly do anything that is wrong. Knowingly. If I know it's wrong, I won't do it. I've served the state, I've served in the private sector, and today we're going through difficulties. There's nothing wrong with Nigeria. Nigeria has one of the best in terms of land, one of the best in terms of weather, one of the best in terms of God-given resources, and one of the best people. The only thing God has not given Nigeria is leadership. If we have good leaders, we will do better. If you compare Nigeria, and I said I want to just compare Nigeria with the 3 biggest countries in Europe, and I can tell you, we have more resourceful young people because we have more resourceful youths than 3 of them have. But when you now compare our economy, if you put the economy of the 3 of them together, Germany with a GDP of 4.4 trillion, UK with a GDP of about 3.3 trillion, and France with about 3.03 trillion, you're getting over 10 trillion, and we're about 400. So they are 25 times more. Why? Because we have a leadership that where we engulf with waste and consumption, no production. The rest assured, if we get it right, we'll build a better life. And all of us are involved. We must stop people from stealing public money. It is a must. We must stop people from wasting public money. It is not their private money. And all of us are involved. You must not celebrate them. All you are. 100 years from today, will all be covered with white cloth. So what are you acquiring for? Why are you abusing the grace of God when people are suffering?
And then for the First Lady office, they will spend 1.5 billion naira for their own vehicles too. So this is what his administration is planning to do, to buy cars worth 6.9 billion naira and then 1.5 billion naira for the office of the First Lady, and this is coming in when Nigerians are actually suffering. With the current hardship that Nigerians are facing, this is what the president plans to do, regardless of the fact that we have millions of Nigerians out there who are starving, who go to bed to spend 6.9 billion naira on vehicles. First Lady's office to get 1.5 billion naira cars. Bola Tinubu has unveiled a proposal to allocate over 6.9 billion naira for the procurement of vehicles, with the office of the First Lady set to receive a staggering 1.5 billion for new cars. These revelations were made in supplementary budget presented by Tinubu to the National Assembly for approval. This proposal is part of a larger supplementary budget of 2.7 trillion, which has raised eyebrows and sparked debate across the nation. The government aims to allocate 2.9 billion for the purchase of sports utility vehicles (SUVs) for the presidential villa, along with an additional 2.9 billion for the replacement of cars in the government vehicle pool. Critics have pointed out the timing of these extravagant proposals, as they come at a time when the Nigeria population is still reeling from the controversial decision by the National Assembly to secure 75 billion naira worth of vehicles. The move have triggered protests in Lagos and Abuja as young activists express their frustration with what they see as excessive spending in the face of challenging economic climate. The supplementary budget also reveals additional spending plans with 28 billion naira earmarked for the State House and a significant 12.5 billion allocated for the presidential air fleet. So this is actually Tinubu's budget. This is what his administration plan to do. They want to spend all of this amount of money for cars for the office of the First Lady and also for his own personal car. Reacting to this on X, this person here said, "Didn't we all know that Bola Tinubu is a profligate character, someone who has enjoyed easy money all through his life, cannot start to be financially prudent today, even if the country is sinking into poverty." 1. Renovation of President's official residence in Lagos, 4 billion naira. 2. Renovation of Vice President's official residence in Lagos, 3 billion naira. 3. Construction of office complex in Aso Rock Villa, 4 billion naira. 4. Cars for First Lady, 1.5 billion. Nigerians, e go hard o. So this is it. Like this person here just said, it will be difficult for someone who has been enjoying money all his life to come and start being prudent financially, because we all know that these times are actually very hard for Nigerians, yet see what they are budgeting all these billions for, not minding what the citizens are going through. Another person here also reacted and said there is a reason why developed countries keep drug barons in jail and throw away the key. Many Nigerians suffering from Stockholm syndrome are still expecting a criminal to give good governance, and this is it. It's impossible for them to actually do the right thing they are meant to do, because we all know that even before they came into power, their focus was primarily on them. He never promised Nigerians that he's going to do anything, so we don't expect him to start doing anything at this point in time, because he told us clearly that it is his turn. That means it is his turn to enjoy the wealth of the nation. Another person here also reacted and said Shege promise loading, and this is what Nigerians are currently experiencing. Another person here also reacted and said, "I actually want Tinubu to steal and embezzle more money to the point where those supporting him will be the first to cast stone of protest." This person here also reacted and said, "This is just the beginning. liquidation of Nigeria is in progress. When will the purse run empty? That's the point we might break up this forced union. Another person here also said, I thought Remi said her family don't need Nigeria's money. And this is it. When they were campaigning, the wife said that her family does not need Nigeria's money, that instead they are coming to help Nigeria. But at this point in time, what are we seeing? They are still eating the little money we don't have in this nation, and they are going ahead to borrow just to enrich themselves. You are spending 1.5 billion naira for cars for the office of the First Lady. This same First Lady told Nigerians that they don't need our money. Now they are using the same money to spend on themselves. Another person here also reacted and said, I don't pity us anymore. However, I want honesty. This person here also reacted and said, I don't pity us anymore. However, I want to honestly ask, is Tinubu currently trekking? And this is it. We all know that he's not trekking. He's enjoying himself. He has cars already, but they just want to add to it because he's the president. Another person here also reacted and said, Tinubu's family has been using Lagos as their family business. They have now upgraded to using Nigeria as their family business. Nigeria is doomed. Now vehicle we go chop. See the person that is telling us he understood our plight. Nigerians are not serious people. Keep insulting one another on X. Why defending and abusing each other's religion? And this is it. At this point in time, it is actually beyond tribal and religious war. This is for the betterment of our country. We have all seen clearly that this administration has no clear plan for Nigerians. Just look at what they have in their budget. You will see clearly that Nigerians are actually not part of this budget. They are trying to renovate one building, trying to renovate office in the Aso Rock. They are trying to buy cars. They are trying to buy many things just to enrich themselves, forgetting the people that they claim that they want to work for. It just shows clearly that the Emilokon was just that it's my turn to enjoy, it's my turn to eat Nigeria's money. This person here also reacted and said, Nigerians should endure more. You voted for a drug lord, a certificate forger, and an election rigger, and expect him to serve the people they play. Also reacting to this person here said, do you deserve these luxuries when you haven't achieved anything since months of inauguration? And this is the question, and it is obvious that they don't deserve it. Yet, they will not even mind, because that's actually their primary aim why they came into politics, why he fought, grabbed, and snatched it. Another person here also reacted and said, renewed hope for Amuda's family and friends, renewed Shege for Ronu Gang and Agbado Republic. No way, this is not just holding Nigerians at this point. We are still calm and relaxed even at this. Another person here also reacted and said, when Tinubu is finished with Nigeria, the corruption and looting that occurred under Abacha will seem trivial. This is just the beginning of Nigeria woes. Another person here said, also reacting to this, another person here said, the thief cometh only but to steal, kill, and destroy. All his life, the career criminal only knows how to grab it, snatch it, and run away with it. They said before election that they came to help Nigerians, that they are rich. Where is the sacrifice? And this is it. It is obvious that all what they were saying then were just total lies and scam. I thought Madam Remi clearly said they don't need Nigerians' money. Oh, okay. Also reacting to this person here said, the next plan of Tinubu's government, 1.5 billion naira on vehicles for the First Lady, 2.9 billion naira on SUVs for the presidential villa, another 2.9 billion naira to replace operational vehicles for the presidency. All this from a president who, in his independence speech few months ago urged Nigerians to endure trying times. The president is enjoying, the people are enduring. And this is it. Nigerians are enduring while the president is actually enjoying. And it's the same person that was claiming that they are going to let the poor breathe by helping Nigerians, by working to ensure that Nigerians enjoy the dividends of democracy. Yet, Nigerians are not seeing any of that at this point in time. Dem no send our papa, this person here said, dem no send na just talk for social media and nothing more. After National Assembly, it's their turn. Which way? Nigeria. When Peter Obi came into office as governor, he learned that the salary of the first lady was way above the health budget. Do you know what he did? He removed the office of the first lady and said there's no need to create an office of the first lady to pacify women when he can make them handle critical positions in Nigeria. This 6.9 billion naira going into furnishing of the first lady can renovate up to 36 public secondary schools across the country to international standards. But here we are, sad. And this is it. When Peter Obi was actually the governor of Anambra State, this is what he did. He ensured that the money they were supposed to spend on the office of the first lady, he invested it in the health sector and rebuilt the health sector in Anambra State. But look at what this administration is doing. They are spending as much as 6.9 billion naira. This is just the beginning, for the office of the first lady, when they have not done anything, and they promise Nigerians that they're going to ensure that Nigeria become better. Another person here reacted and said, see soft life, 6.9 billion on first lady's office. By the time Jagaban is done chopping the national cake, Nigeria's second name will be sorry. And this is it. At this point in time, they keep borrowing just to finance themselves. They keep borrowing so that they can enjoy themselves, not minding the situation they are throwing our nation into. This person here also reacted and said, the tragedy of a failed state. Leadership in Nigeria is about the sustenance of the wealth status of those who lead versus the provision of basic amenities for the common man. Unfortunately, the former outweighs the latter. And this is it. All they are after is to sustain themselves. They are not even thinking of how to better the lives of people. Okay, looking at what they released yesterday, they also said they are going to spend 5 billion naira on student loan, and this loan is supposed to be for all students in Nigeria. What will 5 billion naira do for these students when they are spending 6.9 billion naira for the office of the first lady alone, and spending just 5 billion naira for thousands, millions of students in Nigeria? Another person here also said, I thought the country doesn't have money. Indeed, they keep borrowing just to settle themselves. Is it a big deal? The one who bought Nigeria can equally embezzle it. If he can do it in Chicago State, far away land, Nigeria is closer. Lagos na learning ground. Deal with it. And this is what INEC and the Supreme Court have done to Nigeria. This is the injustice they did to us as a nation, imposing on Nigerians the person that they did not vote for in the last election. They make jest and despise Peter Obi because he refused to buy car for his son. Now, their illegitimate president is about to spend 1.4 billion on cars for an unelected office of the first lady, while you all starve to death. It will favor you by force. And this is it. At this point in time, we all are seeing by ourselves that Peter Obi had the right mandate for Nigerians, but our system failed us and gave us someone Nigerians didn't vote for. Nigerians, when are we hitting the streets? Another person here said, this is no longer a Twitter thing, I beg. 6.9 billion for first lady cars. Now 13.5 billion for renovation of official quarters. When and where are we starting? Tinubu, all this money, why don't you use them to fix all the road if you really have Nigerians at heart? What kind of wicked people are these? Another person here also said, once a thief, always a thief. Theft is a perennial thing with Tinubu, hence crafty devices to continue as a thief. Allocating 1.5 billion naira to the wife is daylight robbery because no provision for the office of the First Lady in the Nigerian Constitution. Another person here also reacted and said, I do not get it. Is this what is important, for crying out loud? How can you justify wanting to spend this much and people are seriously struggling to increase salaries? Now wahala to pay pension, wahala to pay monies due to people, and this is it. They are struggling to pay minimum wage, they are struggling to pay pensioners, yet they are allocating billions of naira for themselves, just to enrich themselves, while the poor masses are crying, while the poor masses are suffering, why people go to sleep on a daily basis without eating. This is not the Nigeria we want. Another person here also reacted and said, money that's supposed to use to create more train, to generate income and create jobs for the citizen of Nigeria are now being used with no plan. God, where are we going to from here? What you get from a selected government, not elected. I rest my case. I could remember the wife saying they don't need Nigerian money, but now just look at the huge amount of money, billions of naira allocated to her just for her office. God, I'm so pained. This person here also reacted and said, by the time Tinubu and his Remi is done with Nigeria, we all must have sense. These are the same people telling us that Nigeria is broke and can't pay workers' salary. These are the people applying for loans everywhere to improve economy. They actually borrow to squander, and this is it. All the money they are borrowing, what they are using it is just to squander it. They are using it to enrich themselves, not even focusing on investments or creating jobs that at least they will know that they have used the money they borrowed wisely. No, they are spending it on themselves. At this point in time, it is obvious that this administration has no clear plan for the people they claim they are leading. This is not what Nigerians are asking for. All what Nigerians want is a better economy. All what we are asking for is to enjoy at least for the first time the dividends of democracy. But we're not seeing that. You fought, and by all means now you are the president of the nation, and it is already obvious to everyone that you didn't have any plan for Nigerians at all. When you said Emilokon, it's because you wanted it to be that it's your turn for you and your family to enjoy, and your close friends, not minding what the people are currently going through. And this is not what we are asking for at this point in time, and it is so obvious to everyone that indeed the Supreme Court, together with the INEC, failed Nigerians. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. Please do well to share your thoughts about the video in the comment section. Please do well to like this video, and please do well to subscribe to our channel if you are yet to subscribe, so you get updates whenever we post a new video.